the cargo cult is the smoking gun to all religions. Because even before that, it was all like we were worshiping the weather and like the rain and the fucking lightning and the fucking earthquakes. That was the god. And
Right.
then one day, all around the world, it's all the same stories. These gods coming in these vehicles, flying shields, and fucking, you know.
Flaming chariots are they called them the fallen angels too, and
Yes.
they would yeah.
All right. It's your boy, Dustin from the Flying Chariots, The Rise podcast. And today I got a special guest, Deserie Foley. She's a UFO enthusiast, researcher, and she puts together conventions too. And it's really awesome. I'm excited to hear more about this. So, Deserie, tell me where you grew up and how you got into the UFO field.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dustin. I really appreciate it. I was born in San Bernardino, California, and I now live in Arizona. I live in Tucson. I am the assistant director of PAX International, which is a nonprofit organization called People Against Covert Torture and Surveillance. And then I'm also a co-founder of the Cosmic Clarity Connections LLC, and that's what we're putting on seminars together. We actually have one coming up next month in Tucson. And if you wanted to check out our website, it's mindnexuslive.com. And there's all our speakers are going to be like, well, we could talk about that later, unless I'm okay if I could talk about it now.
Yeah, please go.
Before we start? Okay.
Yeah.
So the conference is next month, and it's in Tucson, and it's September 27th through the 29th. We have some amazing speakers. We have John D'Souza, which is, the X-Man, the X-Files man. We have Carrie Cassidy. We have Ben from Edge of Wonder. We have Jesse, who's a co-founder. We have, Dr. Rima. Interesting person, Dr. Rima. Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, finally, like someone knows who she is. Like I'm like when I talk about Dr. Rima, she's like my biggest, I'm like one of her biggest fans,
Okay.
She actually lives in Tucson.
Oh.
And she's going to be there. And for your audience who doesn't know who she is, she was married to General Major Stubblebine, who was in charge of Project Stargate. So she has some really awesome stories. And then we have we have a Dr. John Hall. We have Tyler and Aaron from Journey to Truth, and just a bunch of different speakers. So please check out our website. If you're not able to attend, please subscribe to our mailing list to get updates from us. And but yeah, thank you for letting me share that.
No, definitely. I'm here to plug anything in that you want.
Oh yeah, amazing.
So yeah, let's get back to more of how you got into the subject matter. Did you have your own personal experience?
Okay. So I would say it started happening to me when I was a child. I would say the earliest memory that I have is if I had to guess, I would say 5, 6, 7, around that age. I'm not quite sure what age it was. We were living in California at the time, so that's where I grew up. And we were living on this home that had 2 bedrooms, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I can actually see it as if it just happened. I was asleep in my bed, and I was like laying down. You know that right before you fall asleep, that where they call what is it called? Sleep paralysis. Okay, so I was like drifting off to sleep, and I wasn't asleep yet because I was still aware that I was in my room, that the lights were off and it was dark. And then I realized I'm paralyzed. Like I can't move. All I could do is move my eyes and think. And I had an inner voice that was thinking, saying, "What is happening? Why can't you move?" And when that happened, I saw 4 or 5 blue beings that that came into the room, but they weren't, they were multi-dimensional, or they weren't like physical.
Okay.
They didn't have a body. They were more energy beings, and you can see through them.
Oh,
As a child, I immediately thought, they're ghosts, because,
sure.
I didn't know what to call them.
Sure.
So they come in, you can see through them. It's almost like water, and they surround me, and I'm like saying, "Oh my gosh, what is happening to me?" And excuse me, and one of them sat on the bed, and and pulled me up where I was sitting up. And in my mind, it tells me, Deserie, I love you. Right. And then me being a kid, I'm like, I love you too. But I didn't know why I was saying it back, because I didn't know this being.
Sure.
And and I said something to them. I said, "Who are you?" Because you don't look like Jesus. Because, obviously I, thinking
Yeah.
everything, is
Hmm.
Christian and everything.
Yep.
And they thought it was amusing. And they gave me a sense of, like, they knew me,
Hmm.
and they were there to check up on me. And when they left, and immediately I started screaming for my mom. I started screaming for her. She comes in from the other room, and I start telling her what happened to me. And she's not. I'm a kid, right? So she's like, "Yeah, you just had a bad dream, whatever." So she pulls me into the living room. So she made a bed for us in the living room, and I remember laying on the floor with her, and I remember I had my eyes open, and I had a blanket covering my eyes so I wouldn't see anything, because if I was afraid of seeing something with my eyes, I was also afraid closing my eyes, because when I close my eyes, I can see them in my mind.
Oh shit.
So I didn't understand that as a child, why that had happened. But that was my first experience, and I had
Sure.
so many experiences like that through my my just growing up, when I was a teenager, when I was in my early 20s, and this whole entire time, I mean, more than I can count. I have so many stories of this stuff happening to me, and I wanted to suppress it because I don't want to be weird. I don't want to be weird. I want to fit in with all the popular girls. I want to be popular. I
Right.
can't be weird. So I would suppress it. I wouldn't talk about it. And then I would go to school and act like nothing like this would ever happen to me. But it was happening so much that I knew that there was something that kept pulling me back from trying to be normal. Like, it kept pulling and reminding me that I'm not from, this is not reality. This is just an illusion or a simulation, and this is not my true self.
Right.
So I've had, like I said, I had so many different experiences. And if it's okay if I can tell another one, because it's a
Yeah,
really good
please.
one.
Please. Yeah,
Okay,
please.
so I'm about in my early 20s, maybe in my early 20s. And at the time, I wasn't married yet, but I was with my husband,
Hmm.
soon to be husband. And we were sleeping, we were fighting because we were about to break up.
Mm.
Something happened where we just weren't getting along,
Sure.
and we were both devastated because we loved each other very much. And at the time, he was an atheist, and
Mm.
he plays a big part in my story.
Okay.
So he was an atheist, and I'm very Christian at the time. I was like a really hardcore Christian, even though all this like stuff's happening to me. I'm still like all about the Bible and everything. And
Sure.
so I start falling asleep. We were already brokenhearted because we're breaking up, whatever.
Hmm.
And I start falling asleep, and as I'm falling asleep, there was this white, bright light. It wasn't even like those energy beams, it was just pure light.
Mm.
It comes into the room, and I'm not like, who are you? What are you? This was different. This was me screaming and crying for this being not to leave me here.
Oh.
Okay. So this being had a feeling of so much love, that if you think about it, all the love that you can ever think of, the way that you felt about kids, your loved
Sure.
ones, your
Hmm.
parents, even your significant other, like you were in love with this being 100 million times. And it was a feeling like I don't ever want it to leave. So I immediately started screaming, saying, "Don't leave me here, please don't leave me here," because I knew like I couldn't live without this feeling. So the light comes in and he comes to me and he goes, well, the light, it's not him or anything.
Sure.
And I saying, take me with you, take me with you. And it tells me telepathically, it tells me, I'm not here for you. I'm here for Ryan, which I didn't mean to say his name, but dang it. Anyways, for my yeah, I didn't mean to say his name, but that's okay. Anyways, so he goes, I'm here for him. And I was like, okay. I was still trying to process this, and then I woke up. I woke up, completely woke up. I mean, because I was half asleep, half awake,
Mm.
and I instantly started screaming and screaming. I got off of the bed and I started like an idiot. I started throwing myself into the wall. Like I don't know why I was doing that. I was
Whoa.
like, throwing myself into the wall, saying, "He left me. He left me here. I can't believe he left me." And I was so devastated because I was left here because I wanted to be with that light. And I guess you would say Christians would call it the Holy Spirit. And I mean, now I know, from our research, it was a high vibrational being or an angel, somebody,
Sure.
it was something like that. So I'm acting like a fool, right? And the soon to be husband, I wasn't married to him yet. He was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I was just like, "He left me here. He left me here." And then he says, "Well, what happened?" And I looked at him and I had said to him well, I didn't know what else to perceive it other than it being God. And I said, "God wanted me to tell you that he's here for you." And then he started crying because he's an atheist, right? He doesn't believe in anything, or is that what it's called? An atheist? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And he starts crying, like really crying. I was like, "Why are you crying?" And he said it was the first time he's ever prayed to God. And he prayed, "If you're real, prove it." So that was and then we knew like right then and there that we needed to stay together. Like we literally had some kind of like spiritual experience to say, "You guys need to stay together. There's
Wow.
something big that's going to come out of this relationship." So we did. We were married for like 11 years, or we're not married
Wow.
anymore, but
Wow.
yeah, it was a
Okay.
very interesting. I mean, so I had so many, but that's what was a really big experience for me. Like I still think about it, and I'm like, "Oh, holy shit!" Like that's out there. Like
Yeah.
that's really out there.
Yeah. It's funny that you say it's kind of like the star seed relationship almost. Even like there's a case, Paul Villa back in 1965 in New Mexico. He he's a contactee. He was on the beach one day eating lunch after work or whatever, and this human like ET comes to him. He's like, "I gotta show you something." And he's just kind of picks up a conversation with this ET human, like not knowing he's an ET, obviously. He goes around this corner and there's a UFO just chilling right above the water of where he's on this beach. And he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "This is my ship, and we had to let you know something." And he's talking about his soul was connected to their family and their whatever ET race.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, trying to explain to him, but he couldn't like comprehend it himself because this is just so bizarre. The fact that he was on this flying saucer, having these human like ETs telling him his soul related to them, and then he would have all these contacts continuously throughout his life. He's one of the guys that she took a lot of pictures that Colonel Wendell Stevens actually worked on this case. And I actually have beautiful craft, very clean pictures. Uh, and the thing was, this guy did not come out to the public with his photographs. His family and friends took some of these photographs and spread it to the public and ruined his life.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Coral Lorenzen, who I talked about with APRO, actually harassed him pretty heavily, saying that a lot of stuff is fake and stuff like that. If I can find it. Um, yeah, it just again the connection story with the soul of especially like uh, I don't know, just the story you just kind of related. I'm trying to find it. Here we go. There's one picture of the series of photographs that he has. But yeah,
Oh wow.
he'd go out and these things would just show up the size of cars. uh with human ETs. I have he has about like a set of probably 10 with like 10 photographs of 10 series. Um at different situations that he's been in. But yeah, again, people say these are fake and he was just trying to get some money. But again, he's the one did not come out with the photographs. And yeah, he's just it ruined his life. He became a hermit. He
Hmm.
escaped the public eye. Uh yeah, just an interesting story. And then there's another story too. I think there's a Linda Moulton Howell talks about how our souls are very intriguing to ETs, that maybe the ETs are actually kind of hijacking our souls after we die. Like the moon is kind of sucking it all up and then they're transporting our souls into their bodies. Because if you think about aliens, not they don't really have any emotion, especially when the
Hmm.
people who have close contact with these things, or even a light being. How can you tell that thing's happy or sad or or mad? You know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah, no, it's just it's very interesting. And maybe that's another reason why they're visiting us. Like we are this creature that has the soul that reincarnates itself on this planet, I would find that very intriguing if I was an ET species or I don't know. There's just so many theories when it comes to
Or maybe it's happening to everybody and everybody just don't remember.
yeah,
Like
sure.
that could be it too, because I know that I have this ability where I can go into, fall asleep, start to fall asleep, but be in this dimension still and start drifting into another dimension out, and I'm very conscious and aware,
Mm.
which it's a gift or a curse, one of the two, because crazy shit that's happened to me because of it. It's almost like any little thing that's in my room, lurking in my room, ghost, demon, angel, anything that's near around me, I start to see it when I go to sleep.
Huh.
So I mean, you just never know. Like I have all
You're an
these different
empath.
theories. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have all these like theories on what it could be, but I just found it like interesting and intriguing. And I have this one story too that is it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
please go for it.
Okay, so it's kind of like I still like think about it. It's just like one of those weird, things that's happened to me. But I was laying in my bed as I'm always doing, like I'm about to drift off to sleep, and I start drifting off to that, that other dimension, but I'm still aware that I'm in my bed. And then all of a sudden, I feel okay, Desiree, you're paralyzed. Something's about to happen again. So as that's happening to me, this humongous tarantula, okay? It was like a tarantula and it started walking and I'm scared. I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna eat me. I was like, oh my God, it's gonna get me. And then I'm freaking out and it has one of its hairy legs. He puts it on top of me and he tells me, calm down, child. I'm just trying to see if you're human.
Oh,
So that's what it had told me. And I like, of course, I ended up like completely waking up and saying, F was that?
yeah.
What was that? And why would it not think that I wasn't human?
That's crazy. You know, there's an Adam Sandler movie on Netflix that came out. It's more of a serious role that he plays where he's an astronaut and he's just like he's trapped in space and he interacts with a giant tarantula, space tarantula inside this I don't know if it's his mind that's like created this
Uh-huh.
creature that he's interacting with or this ET that comes out as a tarantula that in his own mind. I've actually never watched the movie, just what I've seen in the trailer. But yeah, it looks pretty wild. And I've heard in some of the whistleblowers, oh shit, some of the whistleblowers who talk about being off planet and like battling big space spiders and shit like that. I was like, what? Is that for real? But yeah, it makes you wonder too. It's like, well, I I feel like Earth is the Disneyland of the galaxy. So like there's this endless things here, and it's been here since the dawn of time. Even with the moon, I think the moon is very young, and
Right,
was
right.
and it was towed in at one point of time, because even our ancient ancestors talk about that too. About one day the moon just showed up, and then the scientific theory of like the moon, getting smashed with an asteroid, and then it like spiraled out and created this ball. And but where like the fact that the moon's where it sits in orbit, it's like a zillion to one for that to happen that way that they explained it. I'm sorry.
Right.
To totally cover the sun completely and have so much effect on the earth, like the ocean tides and other shit. Like fuck. And then
I
you think about
know.
like how Earth collects thousands and tons of space dust a year, and we have an atmosphere and wind to blow that shit around. So it wouldn't just stack up on itself like the moon would, right? Because it doesn't have an atmosphere, it doesn't have wind blowing around on it. So you think those scientists and NASA people were like, maybe those first astronauts we're going to throw up there might be landing in 80 feet or 100 feet of space dust and just get swallowed up, right? And then when they got there, it was only like what, 2 inches of space dust. Like, riddle me that, motherfucker.
Yeah,
And then
it's very interesting though. Like
it
that's the kind
is
of stuff that I like to look into to research. I mean, because I don't know, who did you first started following when you who was
Eric
the
Von
first people?
Daniken.
I don't know who that is. Who's that?
Oh, it's the granddaddy of the ancient astronaut theory. He's the writer of Chariots of the Gods.
Okay, wait a minute. Is he on Ancient Aliens?
Yes.
Okay, I know who he is then.
Yes,
Take
yes,
it
yes.
back. I know who he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I started watching Ancient Aliens, and I started watching anything that I can get my hands on, the
Yes.
UFO classified files or
Yes,
or
yes.
stuff like that, like anything to do with UFOs. And I remember I'd watch it so much, and anytime my family members would come around, especially my dad would be like, "Not
Yeah.
that alien shit again." He would like say that to me. I'm like, Dad, it's interesting. And he's like, those aliens get on my nerves. That was like in the beginning of it all. Like I don't watch it so much like I, used to. I don't do so much research because I just don't. When in the beginning I did. I wanted to learn everything that I possibly can because you're trying to answer questions that you have about yourself.
Yes.
And that's why you start like looking into these things because you're like, I know at a very young age, I was questioning, like, why am I me? Why am I
Yes.
Deserie? Why am I not you? What makes you you? And why are you you? So I started having like questions like that. And I had to get to the bottom of where our soul comes from. And, and around 2016, I started walking away from the church, the Christian church.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and that was only because somebody that I know passed away
Mm,
and he had taken his own life.
mm,
So, being a Christian, the Bible tells you you commit suicide, you go to hell, and that's what
sure.
the Bible says. Well, I didn't want to believe that. Like, I was like, I need to start asking questions. So I started going to different churches and talking to different pastors and ministers, and I'm like, like is God going to send him to hell? And because he was like really suffering, and I don't think that somebody that had a really bad life and a really bad childhood, and takes his life, and now he's damned to hell. Like shit, what kind of God is that? That's
Yeah.
you know. So they started telling me like, well, God knows his heart. He's not going to send him to hell. And I was like, no, 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 you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. You're basically saying the Bible is contradicting itself. And I said, if it's doing that, then what else is it doing? And I started like on this whole rabbit hole with that too.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I started like looking into all that and where the Bible came from, and I found
Sure.
out where they came from, and it's that there was multiple books found, and that
Yes.
there was a
Yes.
human that decided what was going to make it in the Bible, what was not going to make it in the Bible.
Yes. Yes.
Then I found the books that did make it in the Bible, and I read all those books like I was a rabbit hole. It was crazy.
Isn't it? No, like the best stories are taken out of the Bible, and like the oldest, obviously, and especially like the Book of Enoch. I think is the most
Uh-huh.
important part of the Bible because it's like has the most detailed stories of gods fighting amongst themselves and having wars and having angels coming to earth, mating with women, creating giants. It even
Oh
fits the whole
yeah,
ancient
the fallen
astronaut
angels.
story, you know, just
Uh-huh.
everything is
Uh-huh.
just um again, everything in the Bible is kind of written in poetry in a sense, you know, like you're just trying to
Hmm.
fucking figure it out because they didn't have the fucking vocabulary to explain what the fuck they were seeing. And uh like Ezekiel, like the flying wheels within wheels, you know what I'm saying? Like he couldn't like
Hmm.
totally figure out what the fuck that thing was, you know, but the thing was flying and it had like things coming out of it. And then there's just tons of stories, like even like Jonah and the whale. Like when he's
Right.
even in like the description in that he gets swallowed up and he's living in there for 5 days, but inside he talks about the ribs of the whale are shining gold. It's like, well, fuck, that sounds very technical, logical thing of a jigger. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like a
Yeah.
submarine.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's just not translated correctly, or
No, it
maybe
isn't.
it's not. Yeah, maybe it's not like the words that they use was to best describe it, in
Oh,
their language.
perfect example of that is the guy who founded Troy, like the archaeologist
Uh-huh.
who found Troy. He took Homer's Iliad and like took that like that little scripture literally, that little poetry literally, and then he
Hmm.
found Troy. So I guess if you think about other historical books that like you just got to break down the poetry, this comes true. You know what I'm saying? We might find Atlantis somewhere soon. Who knows?
Wow. Yeah,
No,
well, good.
no, it's just it's fucking endless, you know. I always kind of harp back to the cargo cult. Like that's how like all religions got their stuff started. I
Hmm.
don't know if you know what the
Hmm.
cargo cult is.
Mm-mm. Mhm.
Okay, I'll give you a quick scoop on the cargo cult. So back in World War II, when we were fighting the Japanese, some of those islands that we had military bases on had some of the indigenous people on it that never seen
Mhm.
airplanes before, and they were just so blown away they thought that their ancestors or the gods sent them these airplanes to them, not knowing what how they flew and just they thought it was like all magic basically. So when the Americans left these islands, the the indigenous started making runways out of the jungle and made bamboo fetishes of life-size airplanes of straw and bamboo, and they would write USA on their chest and made bamboo rifles and they would march back and forth against the runway to entice the other airplanes that are flying by to land on their landing port. So if you even think about that as like kind of modern day. And there's 150 of these cargo cults that exist still today, and they still kind of practice the bamboo um, planes. So if you even think further back in ancient India, they describe these multiple hundreds of gods interacting, fighting amongst themselves, but they always had these flying vehicles called vimana. you know, so these aliens in India or gods in India needed a vehicle to go to A to B. And so once these gods left, the natives in India started making their temples out of the shape of Vimana. So it's
Mhm.
again, the cargo cult still sticks. And then you go further back in Brazil, there's the Kayapo Indians that talk about Bep Caroti, as it's this guy that came down in fire and smoke on top of the mountain, and it came down into their village in this bulbous suit with this glass helmet, and his white skin, white beard, and he came right in the middle of the village, and the brave ones that were there threw sticks and stones and arrows at him, and apparently it turned into dust.
Oh
And
wow.
Beb Karoti had a weapon himself, and he pointed at a tree, and it exploded, and all the natives just ran into the bush. And then this Beb Karoti was standing in the middle of the village for days, like a statue. And then some of the brave Indians came back with food and offered it to his feet. And then they noticed that they started speaking their language. And they're like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Yeah, I had to learn your language, listening to you guys in the bush, trying to figure out what the hell you're going to do with me." It's like give him that explanation type shit. And he stayed with the tribe, taught him agriculture, mathematics, astrology, and they have a school that still exists today named after him. And yearly, so this he actually married one of the tribe women too in there, and I guess he decided he needed to leave, and he left and said one day he would return. But he left an impact on the people where a cargo cult started, where like the people have yearly celebrations of telling the story about Bep Karoti, but they would dress up one of the villagers as Bep Karoti, and this bulbous looks like a modern day astronaut in like a suit of straw.
Wow.
He's bouncing around, and then just they singing the song of how he came to be part of their tribe. Basically, these people they were drinking from the same water hole as the animals before this fucker came into town. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
they give tons of credit to like their knowledge of how to survive in the jungle for this guy, right? It's like shit, man. It's this the cargo cult is the smoking gun to all religions because even before that it was all like we were worshiping the weather and like the rain and the fucking lightning and the
Hmm.
fucking earthquakes. That was the god.
Right,
And
right.
then one day, all around the world, it's all the same stories. These gods coming in these vehicles, flying
Hmm.
shields, and fucking, you know,
That's where the,
flaming
yeah, that's
chariots. Yeah.
flaming chariots or they call them the fallen angels too, and
Yes.
they
Yes.
would,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, if we didn't know anything, say we didn't have any internet or any kind of information, we're still like, hunting our own food and we had no way to communicate. We didn't really know anything. So if somebody comes from space in a ship, we're gonna think they're gods. Like,
Yeah.
how did
Yeah.
they, create this technology? We wouldn't even know it's technology. We wouldn't understand it.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's where the Bible talks a lot about, when the angels would come down. That was aliens. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's pretty interesting when you watch Ancient Aliens and it puts everything together for you. And then,
Yes.
because I started watching the Ancient Aliens after I started to like question the Bible. So
Sure.
it was like right up my alley when they started talking in the book of Thomas, the book of Enoch, and the
Yeah.
book of Thomas talks about, Jesus, meditating, and he talks about other lives he's had, or past lives. So that stuff didn't make it to the Bible because there was somebody that said, no, we can't let these people know their true selves, and we got to scare them to death to think that they have to get it right so we can control them. So they're going to
Right.
threaten us with hell if you don't straighten, your life out, or so that's how that all went down. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting, and it's always nice to like talk to like people like me, you
No,
know.
and like, and you're living in Arizona, is that right?
I live in
Uh,
Arizona.
yeah. And then the fact that the Hopi Indians, is that where the Hopi are from? I hope I'm getting that right.
I'm not sure, but there's a lot of Indians here.
Yeah, I think the Hopi are from Arizona. Again, their story is very unique and beautiful. Again, kind of like Beb Karoti's story of like these Indians were kind of starving. The ancient alien or ancient people were starving in the desert in Arizona until the Kachina came to save them, and they came in this blue star, and they showed them three mesas that were easy more where the soil was better to plant and stuff. And they actually taught agriculture, mathematics, astrology, the same stories. And I actually collect
Oh wow.
Katina dolls. And these are from the 1950s and 40s. The ones in the back are the older ones. But yeah, again, this is the cargo cult that started after these things left. The Hopi Indians started making the Kachina dolls because these things promised to come back one day. So they thought they keep making these things and handed it down to their children. So one day when their children are the ones that have to physically interact with these things, you won't be as scared. So I love how the cargo cult exists everywhere.
Right.
It just keeps going. And then you look at these things, they're very robotic and very astronaut like, you know,
That's really cool. And then you
beautiful.
collect that?
I collect them. Yeah. I my room is like a little mini museum.
Is it?
I spend all my money on getting like the most rarest shit I can get my hands on.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
used to collect a lot of crystals, but then I stopped doing that. Like the
Mhm.
one thing one thing that I found out about myself is that when I first became spiritual, then I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna be a hippie, and then I realized like, no, that is not even my style. Just be cool. You can still be spiritual, just be normal and be cool. So
Mhm.
I stopped collecting crystals and I started giving them away as gifts to my spiritual friends because they really like them. And I mean I like them too, but not enough to like have so many of them. I just realized I didn't use them like a lot of people did, but
Sure.
I live by Sedona, and so I go there a lot. And have you ever been to Sedona?
That's some like UFO hotspots right there.
Oh yeah. See, I've never seen any UFOs there or anything like that. But the one thing that I can say is that when you meditate there, there's something special about the land that your meditation is more clear. You see more screenshots in the mind's eye when you're
Mhm.
meditating, probably anywhere else that I've meditated. I mean, it's off the wall. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I know. Like there'd be like times where my heart's broken or something, and I need to get out of town. I'll go to Sedona by myself and get, a hotel, and I'll just like meditate and try to figure out like what went wrong. And so
Sure.
it's a really good place to like meditate. And also too, I got like baptized there as a because I mean I've been baptized through Christianity too, and but I got baptized there, so that was pretty cool. Where it was like a cleansing, and they
Sure.
threw this like mountain water on you, and it was like freezing cold, and but it was so beautiful because when you were done, you felt like you just like let go of all this negative emotions because the water in the mountains were like so pure. And they did a ceremony, and they did like face painting, like like the Native Americans. And it was like really cool. But like, yeah, Sedona is like beautiful. But I actually have never seen a UFO.
No?
I've
Okay.
never seen a physical ET. There was one time. This happened last year. It wasn't that long ago. This happened last year.
Okay.
I was I had went to see a bunch of my spiritual friends in North Carolina. Actually, I went again this year, but
Oh,
I went
cool.
to go spend some time with them in North Carolina. Very, very spiritual. They were like calling stuff in, and they were like, saying that there was like they were bringing like, beings into, the circle. We did a lot of meditation and everything, so I thought it was cool, and I felt stuff. I even dreamed of stuff, and I was like, okay, there's something, happening, whatever. But when I went home, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just go to sleep. It was the same night that I got home, so I'm starting to fall asleep, and I heard somebody in the kitchen, and it was by myself. And I was, drifting off into that, half asleep, half awake, and I heard somebody in the kitchen, and they were looking for something. You heard, when they're rattling papers and they're pulling open drawers, and I was like, Deserie, wake yourself up. Wake yourself up. And I was like, if I keep rocking myself like this, I'll wake up.
Mm,
Because I knew that I was in that state where anytime something's going to attack me or, come to me, or, because I was paralyzed. And I kept doing it so much that I finally just like snapped out of it. And I was completely 100% awake.
mm.
So, and I was like cautious. I'm like, what is that? There's someone in the kitchen. And I still knew there was something in the kitchen.
Oh,
And
shit.
and this is the only time it's like, like the only time that I've seen a physical being. Like usually I see these beings, they're, interdimensional. They're just energy.
Sure.
So this being, okay, so I have the door like open like this, and the kitchen light was on, but my room was dark. So
Okay.
I'm like just looking at it, just I couldn't keep my eyes off of it. And I see a gray head, like it was a gray, okay, a head. His head was turned sideways. He poked it in and he poked it out.
Oh, hell no.
And when he did that, um, okay, so when stuff like that happens to you, you can, there's like two things that can happen to you. You can either go into shock because it's so scary that you don't know, your body doesn't know how to react to that because you know it's not a burglar, you know, it's not like someone's there robbing you, you know. I mean, what could you do? Call the police? I saw a head pop in. You know, you can't do anything like that.
Yeah.
You just have
Right.
to like deal with it. And I said, I remember saying to myself, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit right now. I'm gonna lose it. And I said, what can I do so I don't lose it? Because I've had that happen to me before where I go into shock and I'm unresponsive because you literally will just like because you don't know how to react to stuff like that. And it's happened to me before. So I already knew I was on the edge of going into shock because I was so frightened by whatever that was. And then instead, I called somebody crying, saying there was something. And that was the first time I've ever seen a physical being. And the first time that I've ever seen what looked like a gray.
Oh.
So that just happened last year.
Oh shit. Yeah. I don't know. I probably run the fuck out of that house. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Because again, like
Yeah.
when I had my setting, I wigged the fuck out. I ran back to my girlfriend's house. I was like, you won't believe what I fucking saw. This fucking I was just so like, yeah, dumbfounded, and she was even looking at me like I was just nuts, you know. But no, it does. It makes you like just trip, or again, just be in this shock mode. We're like,
No,
again,
I
what can you
know.
do? What can you do?
What can you do? There is nothing you can do. You could either lose it and and I'll tell the story of how when I went into shock where they had to break down my door. I was 20 years old. I was living by myself in my own apartment. It was a one bedroom apartment and I was in my bed and I'm starting to fall asleep again, like you know the same thing, starting to fall asleep. And as I'm drifting into that other realm, somebody walks into my room, and this guy, he looked young. He had a baseball cap on. He walks in, and I said, "Get out of my apartment! You know, you're not supposed to be in here." I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, he said his name was David, and that his he had died in the apartments years ago, and that you know he died. He had a tragic thing that happened to him, and that's why he was dead. But he was a spirit, and then he comes into the living room and I'm following him, telling him, David, you have to leave, David, you have to leave. And he pulls up this photo album. He pulls this photo album and he starts going like through the photo album and there it's pictures of my life, but it was never pictures that I took. It was literally screenshots of everything that's ever happened to me in my life and all the decisions I ever made, even some of my thoughts. And he was like literally looking through this photo album.
Wow.
And obviously there was something to that. It was just the way that my brain can comprehend what I was seeing. And then I had told him, I was like, I really think you should leave. And then all of a sudden, I hear the dishes rattling in the kitchen, and I wake up, completely wake up, and I'm like, oh my God, there's somebody in my apartment. And as I'm completely awake now, I'm completely 100%
Wow.
awake. And I knew that there was a spirit named David there. And then he sits on my bed and I'm full awake. And I felt him sit on my bed and everything in me is something, it felt like some of my spirit like went out of my body and I went into shock. I don't know how long I was like that, but it took me a while to come back because I was like stuck, like it's almost like my spirit left. And
Hmm.
because I was so scared, so I was stuck in my bed. I called somebody and I said, I need you to come get me, but I can't get out of bed. I can't move. I'm so petrified. And they literally came and they had to break down my door because it was locked because I refused to get up to unlock the door for them.
Whoa.
Yes.
Man.
So yeah, it's just like I've had so many different experiences. So I know that I'm capable, and I've happened to me where I went into shock where you literally like it's almost like you leave your body because you're so scared and you don't know how to react to stuff like that. Because I mean, he sat on my bed and I don't know what that was, but obviously it was real. So that when stuff like that happens to me, so I'm touching on something. Like
Yeah.
even though like I'm like falling asleep, there's something that's connecting with me. And when I'm fully awake, the spirit or whatever's there is still there, and it still will do stuff to let me know that, it wasn't just a dream. And
Wow.
I know, like, I don't know if you ever read The Law of One.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
a big
I haven't
Law of
read it.
One
I haven't
fan.
read, but I know about the book. Yes.
Okay. So the Law of One says that a lot of these beings and spirits, and they communicate with you through your dreams, and they talk to your subconscious, and that's a lot of them. That's like a lot of a communication that's going that way. So I'm thinking that that's what I'm doing, and I'm actually remembering it, and I think it's happening to everybody. Like it's not just me. It just so happens that I remember it.
Hmm.
But
So
it's been a
makes it,
trip.
yeah. So I was saying, it makes it sound like you're like an oracle. Saying that's how they get into a trance before they get to see the future or the past, or
Mm.
you know.
Well, let me touch on that a little bit.
Wow,
So,
please do.
okay, so let me touch on that a little bit. Okay, so when I got together with some people, when was that, last year? No, it was earlier this year. Earlier this year, and he hypnotized me, or regression, it was regression.
Okay.
And I was that we didn't he didn't know this was going to happen, but I kind of already knew because I've been regressed before, and I kind of knew what happened. And I guess I can channel. I can go into a state of mind where I'm able to touch or interact with beings from another dimension.
Oh, cool.
So I know that sounds so crazy. Oh my God, it's just like listening to myself. But
Yeah.
so of course, we're always trying to, experiment and try to, figure it all out and see if we can really do it, right? So
Yeah.
we're with a group of people, we do a regression, and I go back to being when I was a spiritual, like not spiritual, energy being. So
Okay.
I regress back to being a being like that. And then once I started doing that, the person that was hypnotizing me saw the beings walk into the room. Like
Oh.
I had my eyes closed because I could see them with my mind. The beings came into the room, and he's like, he sees them. I can see them in my mind's eye. And then the other people felt the energy. It felt like electricity inside the room. And he had told me that he's been regressing people for 20 years, and he's never had an experience like this. And I was like, I found it like very cool. And I'm like, well, let's do more research on this. Let's not just be like these weird, people and just trying to channel. Let's, research it more and
Yeah.
find out like how does the human mind get to this? Can everybody do this? Like, let's try it on other people to see if we can, have them, make that bridge into another dimension. And then when we were done doing it, we both of us had lost all of our energy. Like all of our energy was drained. We were like really tired. And I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting. And I hope that we could do more research like that. But that's like the kind of stuff that I want to do all the
Yeah. That's really interesting. Holy fuck. No, it's just
time.
no, it is a trip, like it makes it feel like we're like the Disneyland of the galaxy, just
Oh yeah, it's
so
it's
much
fun,
shit
and it's
here.
exploring the mind, because you think about it, Dustin, like I have a corporate job, and
Hmm.
I like today I work 10 hours, or like 10, and then Monday I work 12 hours,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always like working in my corporate job. But that if I didn't have to have that corporate job to pay my bills, what I would be doing is I would be um in nature. I would be meditating. I'd be
sure.
more expanding the mind and exploring the mind. But yet I'm stuck doing this job, and I'm living in 3D because I have to pay my bills and I have to survive.
Yes.
But if we all didn't have to do that, we were all more doing what I'm talking about, we can already start ascending this planet, because we're like in a slave planet right now, where we were forced to work instead of figuring out who we are and where we come from. So
I totally agree with you, especially with the banking system, like how humans like invented that bullshit.
mhm.
And like, yeah, this never ending debt, and always in this system of, it's kind of like the David Icke theory too. David Icke, I'm sure.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
know of him. I don't know him though.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, like a lot of his conspiracy theories is like how we're just kind of the one percenters on top of this pyramid scheme of like how everybody else is kind of enslaved in this work, and we're just there's got to be more to this the work and this money that can just be destroyed and be worth nothing. We're
Hmm.
all this
Hmm.
craving for. It's it doesn't add up in my psyche either. Again, you're right. We would have more time to focus on ourselves, nature,
Hmm.
um, healing ourselves, and yeah, finding out that our our destiny and future is in the stars. And that's why I kind of like the Russian cosmonauts, because they call themselves cosmonauts because they believe that their future and their past was in the stars, and they're returning home. So it's almost like poetic. You know what I'm saying? It's
Hmm.
like it's full circle, and like maybe these ETs were just kind of seeding these planets and just watching us grow, or not even watching us grow, just the fact that we're traveling the stars ourselves. And it's trippy that we live on a planet for billions of years and we don't know what the fuck is in our waters. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is what, like what? Well, 8% what's in the water. It's like, yeah, riddle me that bullshit. Yeah, there could be monsters, there could be aliens down there could be endless things down there. Who knows? That could be where heaven's at. It was underwater, not the sky. But no,
I've always thought that, well, not always, but just recently when I read the Law of One, I see more of what's happening here is that we are in a simulation in that our higher self is feeling, a little fractal of our higher self is inside of us and
mhm.
playing this role, and we're in a school, and everything's like real to us. We get our hearts broken, we get to love, we get to all the emotions we get to
There's too
experience.
much
And
heartbreak in this goddamn world. Let me tell you
oh,
that.
I know, my
I'm getting my
goodness.
got I had my heart broken about a year ago. So yeah, it took about a year to get over. So
Yeah,
like
no, I know it's a lot of heartbreak, but what did you learn from that breakup? What did you learn?
I don't know, probably just be more picky next time. I don't know. Well, this girl cheated on me, so I don't know. Just
Have you
I
ever
went.
cheated on anyone?
Mm-mm.
Can I ask how old you are?
I am gonna be 40 this year.
Oh, you look so young.
I know. You know what it is? I drink baby's blood. Just crack the
No,
back of the neck.
yeah, whatever.
Actually, I'm an
Well,
ET. No,
yeah, you're an ET.
no.
Well, yeah, I've been had my heart broken a few times too, and I learned a lot from it. I actually learned a lot as I got older. I just had an individual break my heart
Hmm.
a year and a month ago. It was a year and a month ago,
Same
and
time
I
period. Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't so heartbroken about the breakup. I was more hurt by the cruelty. Like, it was, the cruelty of it was like how could you be so darn evil and cruel to me when you said you loved me? Like
True.
it was something that I had to understand, and I had to forgive too, because obviously, hurt people, and there's some
True.
healing that he had to go through, and I wasn't even mad anymore. I just had to get through the actual hurt and say, you know what, I forgive you. I haven't. I actually, the day we broke up, I never spoke to him again. So,
Good.
um, yeah. So, but I've learned a lot, and not just that one. A few other relationships I've been in, I've learned a lot. I've learned who I truly am. I know who I truly am during a breakup, because you can learn a lot by somebody when you break up to see how that person reacts. Because especially if you live with them and you have to split stuff up, then the real person, the real them comes out, where they
Yeah.
said, you can't have this, you can't have this is mine. And then you start seeing that, and then you start
Sure.
to learn from different breakups. But I've actually learned the most when my heart is like broken.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she did a doozy on me. It was like the first girl that really took a knife and twisted it pretty good. Because especially I was gonna throw a ring on that finger, and the fact that all my
Mhm.
friends and all my family ready to like there. And then everybody I knew was getting married. I never been married, don't have any kids. So I was ready to jump on that bandwagon. And no, and I was living with her too. So the fact that she had to like find somebody else while she was fucking living with me is just fucking that was the biggest twist shit ever. I was like, what the fuck, bitch?
How did you find out?
Well, after she broke up with me, she got engaged 2 months later. So I'm like,
Oh, wow.
that doesn't do the math. You must
But
have
did
met
you
this month.
forgive her?
Uh, I mean,
Even if you
I
don't
love her.
tell her, like, even if you don't tell her and you just do it for yourself to like let that go and just remember she
Well,
was a
yeah,
lesson
I've
for
let it
you.
go now. That's been a year. But no, I was very, very sad for a while there where my parents and my friends, well, I lost some of my friends too, because I actually opened up to my friends. I thought I could cry on some of them shoulders and then found out that they weren't too comfortable with that and couldn't talk to me much anymore after that. So again, I found out who my true friends were, I guess, too. I found that. And no, my family was very supportive, but they were very worried at the same time because they knew how much I loved her, and it just took time. Time does heal. And then I had um, I guess the friends I did have that stuck around did help a lot too. Again, I can only imagine for you too. It just took time, and
Yeah.
you
It
got to
just took
just
time and
reroute your
prayers.
thinking
Uh-huh.
and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you know like what the law of one says about what you would say star seeds? They don't call them star seeds, they call them wanderers.
Modern.
But would they say that wanderers, one of the main things of how you can tell that they are from another time and more they're from the future that are incarnating here at this time to help raise the vibration because we're supposed to shift into another density. This is what the law one says. One of the traits that people have is they don't have children.
Mm.
So just like think about I'm running into a lot of people, a lot of mostly males. I mean, there's females too, where there are these one star seeds where they're, they know they're different. They know like they don't fit in, and none of them have children. And the reason why is that your higher self was like, I can't have children. I don't want to get stuck here. If you have children, you create karma, or you can create karma, and then you can get stuck here, and then you would have to reincarnate to fix it.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah, so a lot of the wanderers, which star seeds, it's the same thing. They're just called differently or depending on who's saying it. But
Right.
they say that people like yourself come and incarnate here to awake, raise the vibration, and this may be your first and last time you come to this place. So
I actually thought about that, and I kind of want that for myself. This is the last time I'm coming to Earth.
yeah, uh-huh.
I think I've seen and saw whatever, and the fact that I've done my own research, like the fact that seeing something with my own two eyes awakened my like journey into, I guess, down the rabbit hole. But again, I think that's where your awakening starts. It's like that's where I think once you die, you're gonna have these ancient astronauts be like, "Yep, you're part of us," or "Yep, you were on the right track. You could travel. Your soul could travel the stars for all eternity." I mean, that could be endless too. Like, why would I want to like visit planets and see other beautiful landscapes that like other planets might have? Like I don't know, just I just want to come back to Earth where everybody's fighting and going crazy, and like I would hate to be like like a fucked up family or like come back with some like crazy deformities or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like we just
Right.
dodged you and me just dodged a bullet, the same. We came out looking gorgeous and shit. And no, it's crazy. I don't know. But I'm glad that we're on our last little
Yeah,
earthbender.
I hope so. I hope so. But you just never know. Like I kind of feel like me personally that I'm not a star seed. I'm not a wonder. I don't believe that I am. The reason why I say that is because I can tell you that I have a lot of like an intuition that I've been here before. I've had lives with my mom and my daughter, and then I'm really connected to the Egyptians. Like there's something like I know that I was alive during those days. There's something inside me so I know and have a feeling that I have incarnated here over and over and over and over again. So, and I'm not a star seed. That's okay. Not everybody's going to be one, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm a star seed at all either. I don't think
You
I'm.
do you don't think you are?
No, not if I don't know. Maybe if anything, man, I'm steering the awakening of the UFO phenomenon by doing what
Hmm.
I'm doing and being the custodian to Colonel Wendell Stevens and keeping these stories alive. Is
Hmm.
this? I don't know if that's part of the star seed thing. I have no idea, but no, not
It's
that's
some
just
but
that's just
yes.
yeah, it is. It's just keeping this stuff alive, and it's the drive and interest that just it plagues my mind. I wake up every damn day thinking about UFOs or thinking where the fuck did humans come from? Why are we all like this? And it's just this rabbit hole that just keeps going. But it's not like a bad plague. I totally enjoy it. I feel like it makes life way more exciting. And the fact that I'm like an adult and I get to talk like this shit and like have other adults agree with me and like it's not like
Hmm.
we're a bunch of crazy fucks, but we're very knowledgeable people.
Right.
And and again, you and me get to interact with some really big namers in the field too.
Hmm.
It's like again, it's just an
It's
awakening
extraordinary.
with other people
Uh-huh.
and even ourselves too. And again, I never thought I would be doing this podcast stuff. This is like totally out of left field. I used to do music. I used to be in a band called Birdseye, and I was the lead MC in this like it's a indie funk hip hop band. It was awesome. I loved it. We used to play big shows and
So
especially
when you say
stages.
the main MC, is that the singer?
Yeah, I was the rapper.
Can you sing us something?
Oh, I might sing you something. You want me? I could do like an ancient astronaut one if you want me to.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. That would
All
be like the
right.
perfect ending to this too.
All right. I'll do it right now.
Okay, let's do it.
On that note.
Okay.
Let's see. The NASA space program wouldn't be shit without Operation Paperclip. From the atom bomb to the modern day rocket ship, Warner Van Braun and a group of Nazi scientists were put to the test to reverse engineer unexplainable objects that fell from the heavens that the government won't confess. Religion would crumble, and the ancient astronaut theory would manifest reality from east to west. A new outlook on astronomy would be hard to digest. Nevertheless, the truth will come out soon about the artificial structures on the dark side of the moon, because I hold the key to the greatest mystery. I read the ancient books about the Anunnaki, serpent-like gods who brought knowledge in astronomy. From planet Exodus, how the earth inhabited by giants that exist, evidence can be found written on walls of pyramids, hieroglyphics on structures that were megalithic. The idealistic thought of different dimensions were problematic to the early human civilization that automatically needed the God's intervention. As the ancient Vimanas took to the sky, promising a day return, until then was told to use the knowledge that the human race had to learn.
Oh my, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you can remember all that. That was great. Wow, that was amazing that you can keep those in your mind that it just comes to you like that.
Yeah. Well,
That's amazing.
I've been doing rapping since I was 15 years old, doing open mic gigs at like the college here in Madison. And I've been doing big gigs where I saw artists that I idolized throughout the years play at. And I was like, finally made it to the stage where like, what? But no, it
Hmm.
was really cool. It was really unique. Just the band life was crazy with this drugs, sex, and alcohol, and everybody's arguing with each other, and just didn't didn't fit well. So I started doing spoken word poetry, the kind of what you just heard right there.
Hmm.
I would do like
It was really good. Hmm.
the acapella to it.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, it's fun. I do it once in a while, do the spoken word poetry stuff. But yeah, it's just sad that it had to turn out how it was because that was like the biggest dream. I was trying to make it, and it's very hard to make it as a rapper. Everybody's
Right.
trying to be a rapper, especially all the white boys. But yeah, no, it was fun while it lasted.
Oh, you should really try to make it to our event if you can. Do you
Oh,
ever go to the UFO conferences?
I have not been to one yet.
Why not?
I
That's how
should.
you make all these
I should.
amazing connections.
I know. That's why I should just bring Colonel Wendell Stevens photographic archives with me, and everybody would shit their pants.
Right.
I went to Chicago's paranormal convention over the summer, and that was my first convention. And I was sharing a booth with Barnaby Jones, he's a cryptic hunter, like goes out and looks for Bigfoot and ghosts and UFOs, and he's got quite the following here in Wisconsin. He's got like a Ghostbuster van that he just drives around different places. I was part of his documentary series of the UFO thing. Very cool guy. I shared a booth with him showcasing my photographs, and is actually right across the booth from the MUFON group,
Mhm.
the district of Illinois. So someone told me I should go talk to Sam, who is like the one of the head directors of Illinois MUFON. So I went over there and I was like, hey man, I told him my story of how I got these photographs of Colonel Wendell Stevens, and him and his colleagues are all like hunched over my the photo album, and they were just jaw dropped and like just like, oh my god, can't believe you have these, and like and yeah, they're just they wanted all my information. So me and Sam have been in contact, and I actually over so I actually caught a UFO on camera May 21st. We had a humongous storm here in Madison where it was lightning and the winds were blowing about 50 miles per hour and the rain was about to come. And I just thought it'd be really cool to catch some lightning in slow motion on my camera, on
Mhm.
my iPhone. So I just aimed it at the sky and took about 20-second video, hoping to catch some lightning. I did catch some lightning. I was like, oh, I caught something. So I ran back inside and I look at the video and shit you not, there's a fucking flying saucer come from the right side of the video, just like this. And even like the the UFO's shadow is bouncing off the clouds. It's just fucking shit. I was like, no fucking way. I threw that shit on Facebook and it went to 35.5 thousand views within that
Oh,
day.
wow.
And then like I people were like, you need to send this into MUFON. So I sent it all into MUFON. And maybe I might have the MUFON email of the guy who looked over my video and analyzed it with other
Oh,
analysts.
yeah. Let me see it.
Uh, Unfortunately, my iPad won't let me play the video, but I do have the video on my Facebook if you want to check it out. Let me find the letter here. Sorry. Here we go. But yeah, again, it's just awesome to hear feedback of like it being genuine and not knowing what it was, obviously. Very, very cool. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah, very
actually
cool.
and I shared that with Sam too, and he's like, I want that case number too. He's like, that video is amazing. Like, so I definitely encourage you to check that out on my Facebook.
Yeah, send it
Or
to me on
actually, I could
my
send it.
Facebook.
Yeah, I could just send you. Yeah, I could just send it to you. And yeah,
Yeah,
I could
send it to me
do
on
that.
Facebook so I can see it and then I'll send you like I don't catch UFOs,
And
but
you can actually,
I catch orbs.
and you can share this with your colleagues and whoever, even at your little conventions, you can, if you want. Actually, and the best thing about the video, I've been told this by star seeds that they must be listening or watching what I'm doing, amplifying their existence or something, or the fact
Mhm.
that but the wind is blowing so hard, it blew off one single leaf off the tree. And it actually shows great reference to the size and speed of this UFO because the video's in slow motion. So you see this slow motion leaf kind of drifting in the wind and it almost intersects with the UFO that's coming shooting out. So a lot of people like look at the video and they focus
Mhm.
on the fucking leaf and it's like that's a fucking leaf. I was like, look beyond the leaf, fucker. And they're like, oh okay, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, what the fuck? so so it just made sure you weren't one of those people who are just like, yeah, it was just a leaf, bro. No, the fact that I'm glad there is a leaf in it because it shows the size of
I think listen
reference, speed, and
to
size.
issues with my
So
internet.
it'll
Mhm.
clear up. I think it was just on your end there. That's okay.
Yeah, I was having some internet issues earlier
Oh,
today,
yeah.
so
Oh,
yeah. And I
that's
checked
okay.
my speed and it was fine before we started the interview, but
Well, anyways, we can end it on that note too. That was awesome though, wasn't it? It's so cool to
yeah,
get to kind of
I'm
get to
glad I came
know
on.
where you, what you were all about and what you're doing and stuff like that. I think it's very, very important what you're doing. It's so cool that you're in the subject. But yeah, I'd love to have you back on to have more chats. We actually do big group chats too. We get other like-minded people in the same field and we kind of network with each other. And
Okay.
yeah, like it'd be perfect to have you back on.
Okay, yeah, just like let me know and I will be available for
All
you.
right. Sweet. Hey, can you stay with me for 2 more minutes?
Yes.